Hello, everybody.
You're starting. Go on. I'll sit here.
Oh dear, hang on a minute. It's sorry. What happened was the stream started and then XSplit died, and then lost its mind. So Sam, can you talk again so I can see if the echo's gone?
I'm more than able to talk.
Excellent. The echo's
You've got
gone.
a bad echo going on, apparently.
It was. Yeah, it's fixed now. Right, welcome everybody. Right, now it's your turn, Sam.
Yes. Well, all right. Okay. Thanks, Matt. Yeah. This is so much easier when I host,
It is.
because I know exactly what's happening. So yes, this evening we're being joined by Jasper from Rivet.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
It's worth saying something just to make sure that Matt's science is working for him. I'm going to have a look at the West Cornwall Local, which has now finally released properly this time, having been taken off. Haven't been taken off briefly. So we're going to do a full run through of what you can expect to see. So you'll get all the basics, and Matt's going to be driving for us this evening, drinking out of his yellow and white safety cup.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want coffee anywhere near my computer anymore.
Yeah. All right, lead us in then, Matt. Let's go have a look.
Okie dokie. Right. So let's just start with the journey, the Cornish coastal journey. You've got the 3 chapters here. So again, the content here hasn't changed, but there's bits that weren't there before that now are. So this is now complete and ready to go. Next up, we have got the training. So you've got the 150 and the 37 training tutorials teaching you how to do the route. Plus you've got the route introduction as well, which is always fun. Then we've got the scenarios. Do you want to turn the cameras off now, Sam, actually?
Let's go for it. We're pretty enough. People can already imagine us.
Left my camera
You still
on.
exist.
Nice. Okay, right. Right, so we've got the Cornish Circle scenario, late night finish, coastal takeover, slow ride, and sleepy delivery. I do like the sleepy delivery scenario, actually. In fact, no, slow ride was the one I was playing. That's quite fun. I like that. So you've got 2 scenarios for the Class 37, and you've got 3 scenarios for the Class 150 DMU. Timetable. There's a bit more on the timetable. However, what I'm showing you here is if you have also got Northern Transpennine and the heavy freight pack installed. And it's actually Tees Valley as well is influencing this list, so I'll explain that in a minute. So this scenario pack, I think it comes with 65 services by default. If you have heavy freight pack and Northern Transpennine, it goes up to 98, with some additional stock services provided by the BR Blue pack. What you'll notice here is that it's actually showing the Tees Valley 37, so if you want to use the one that comes in the pack, you just need to select it here. At the moment we don't have a way of changing which is the default, so it's probably alphabetical order or which one it loaded first because the one that it's showing, so that if you want to find the 37 you can't see it. That's where it is. It's under reskins. Somewhere down here there'll be a 150. There you go, this is the 150. So there's 64 services for the 150, and the 37 has 21 in total, but that'll include some of the ones that come from the other layer.
So a slightly odd question, but why do the locos show in the order that they do? Because obviously the 150 and the 37 come as standard with this route, but you have to go fishing to find both of them.
You do.
If you've got an extensive collection, what dictates the ordering?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I think part of the problem is we haven't got an explicit ordering system in there, which means it's pretty much, I think, the order that it loads them in, whichever order they get registered into the list at load time. So it's
just odd. That's all.
It is very odd. And there's more than one occasion that we've added extra layers to a route, and the locos that come with the route are pushed off the end of the list, which is not good. So I do want to try and get them some ordering in this list at some point, so that it's the ones that you more likely want to play are at the front. But no, at the moment it's an unpredictable list. So we're back to the 150 services. The 150 will have you running up and down between Penzance and St Austell, the main line of the route, and also running on the St Ives branch. the 37 does some freight services up and down the line as well, hauling the 2 new wagons that come with the route, which I'll show you during the course of today. The Sea Cow, I think, and the Turbot.
Yeah.
Then we've got the layer that comes in from Northern Transpennine and Heavy Freight Pack. What that does is it adds BR Blue era services, loco haul services. And the reason you need both Northern Transpennine and the Heavy Freight Pack is because Penzance has no facilities on its own to support loco hauled stock being turned around. So you need one of these to turn it round, and that comes from Heavy Freight Pack.
Right.
So that's why you need both of them. If you only have Northern Transpennine, you can still run the 101, however. So the 101 will because it's just substituting in across from the 150, you don't need the Heavy Freight Pack to enable that one, so that will work for that. So that's pretty much it. We'll get in, and if you've got any more questions on the chat about what it is and how it works, then do ask us.
Yeah,
And,
I'll fire them in as they come up from the chat.
Superb. Right. Okay. Let's go ahead, and since the 150 is sort of the star of the show, let's go ahead and drive. Now we were going to do let's do St Austell to Penzance, and we'll do that one Charlie 72. So I thought we'd do the 150 along the length of the route, and then we do the 101 down the branch line, just for a bit of variety. Right, so this is the 150. First thing we need to do is get the cab set up. So in the cab we want to check the marker lights are on, which is the 2 white lights on the outside. Instrument lights need to be on. The headlights need to be on the right setting, which is the daytime setting. You notice when you hover over it, it says day. If you move it to the left, it's the night setting. And the right and the left specifically refer to whether it's that light or that light. Destination indicator is lit up. Those are all fine. Let's get the master key turned on and put the reverser into forward. Where's the passenger? It's on the left. That's this button here. You hear the doors open and the lights come on, confirming they're all good. Right. So we're okay on that front. Now on the back wall here, there is a switch here for TPWS, which is also for AWS. You hear that's now alarming. And I need to press Q, or press that button, which will then cancel it. Right. Not quite time to finish loading the passengers yet.
You finished ahead of schedule.
Yeah. Right, let's lock the doors. Again, click the same button to close it again. You can click either of these buttons to open it. In reality, they have to use 2 fingers to press both buttons, so they can't accidentally press it. Right, brakes off, and let's put some power on. Right, we're leaving St Austell now. Let's go outside.
You can see a little bit of the Mediterranean flair of the station.
I like this footbridge. I think this footbridge is fantastic.
Yeah. Just looks like it's really old. And yeah.
Let's get the window open. So the AWS. Now that's a green, but that's a distance signal, and the AWS has gone off because the next signal is yellow. I think that's the science behind it anyway.
I'm glad this is a simulation and not like the real world. Wouldn't
No one would
mind
let
if
me
my
behind
train
the-
driver's guessing what his safety system's telling him.
What comes up here is the line switches down to single track, and the caution here is because of because we're going to get held, I assume, because there's something coming the other way. So I'm going to cut the power now. AWS again. .9 of a mile. In fact, there it comes. Oh, something else has got booked in behind it. We might see a bit of BR Blue going the other way.
Nice. Just think that's been really cool that we've all actually Duff to have added in the blue stuff. Just makes this route feel much more alive. So yeah, that's really cool.
So was that original AWS trigger prototypical then, Matt? Should it have gone off when you had a clear signal ahead of you?
I wouldn't have expected. As a green distant, probably I wouldn't have expected to. So it did kind of take me by surprise. It is something perhaps Jasper to add to the list for the team to have a look at, see if there's, why that alarm went off there.
We actually have it already on the list and looking into it.
Yeah, so the red signal was because of that go via FD1003, and the reason for that is one of the changes that was made since the original release of an early launch date of the route was that all of the station stops had no dispatch beyond enabled, and that meant that you would always come to a station on a red line. Now fixing that, because of the nature of the way this route is signalled and tracked, with, for example, this section here where it's single track, actually really badly broke the route. Where the pinch points are, there are now go vias to hold the signal, so that you can't, it wrecked the flow of the traffic because they would grab the line so far ahead. Various pinch points. There's 2 or 3 pinch points on the route, and there's just some extra go vias, which means that the rest of the route doesn't need the dispatch beyonds, it can have the dispatch beyond, and you now get greens everywhere you're supposed to get greens. So overall it feels more natural, but there's a couple of things like those pinch points where you just need to rein it in a bit.
So it's like the single track session where it gets a little bit complicated and this was needed.
Yeah, it was where you get pinch points in the signalling, you just need to help the dispatcher prioritise trains by doing that.
What's your speed there, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Glad someone's looking. Slow down. Okay. So you just need to just help the system prioritise the trains out there. And where they've gone in, tried to put them in places that you still have tons of notice, so that if it was to stay red, you'd still have plenty of time to react to that. And you should be expecting it to stay red, but you also shouldn't find yourself at that point slowing down too much, so that it's wasted your time either. So it's a compromise that gives you the best experience overall, hopefully.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
It's heading for Truro now. I quite like along the side of this route where you've got the cut down trees. Not that I'd particularly like to see trees getting cut down, but it makes it looks like this stuff happened, relatively recently along the route.
Yeah. I mean, it's in the details, right? That's just, love these small things as well. Just feels like this route is more alive, if you want to have it that way. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, no, that's it. I've waited long enough. Let's talk sound, okay? Because we know that the sound isn't 100% what you would want. Got a couple of people saying, we're not hearing the sounds from track joins. You can hear them if you concentrate. So jointed track, apparently it's a little on the quiet side. What are the challenges in doing the sound for this particular unit? Because one of its biggest characteristics are that you have to effectively over rev to get it started from a standstill. So where were I should say the challenges in pulling that off?
So the problem, if you want to have it that way, is in the physics setup, because the physics obviously controls sound, because in a diesel train you want to have the engine speed matching the actual sound that you're going to hear. And so it's like a combination between the simulgraph and simulating the fluid converter, which is the thing that causes the train to rev up at the start. Just because like the engine can almost freely spin at the beginning, and then like I think it's oil gets into the fluid converter and then connects like the actual the wheels with the engine, and that's where the challenge was, getting that that fluid converter to behave the exact way that we want to have it. And we see in the feedback that it's not 100% there. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable sound at startup, but I think you can get an idea of what it's supposed to be. So yeah, but we're having a look at it. I can't promise any fixes yet. That's the same thing I said last time, but since then we've done a few touches to it, so it's not the same version.
I think the important thing is that it's a case of I'm the first person to say don't promise anything. It's more a case of you are intending to look at the sound some more, or are you now satisfied with where the sound is?
You'll probably never be satisfied, because making a train sound 100% as it does in real life is extremely challenging.
I get that. Sorry, maybe I worded that badly. Are you, as a studio, now saying we're done with sound for this route and this loco, or are you still going to do a little bit more work on it?
That's tricky to answer, because, like I explained, the reason for the sound or why it behaves that way is in the simulgraph, and changing things in the simulgraph obviously affects the whole simulation, the physics simulation of the entire train. So changing something in there isn't like a little thing. So we'll probably have a look into it and see if we can do anything, but can't promise that is something that we can fix quickly, and therefore then just release a patch. Because if we are close to redoing the whole physics, which is a little bit
look, I'll save you having to say it. Don't expect any further changes from here. But if the nice people at Rivet can figure out how to suddenly make it work, then obviously that'll be plugged in. But from the sounds of it, that's an enormous task, so I wouldn't expect it.
It can be an enormous task, yeah, and nothing else to add. That's perfectly worded, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is, Jasper, and I'm a wizened old dog, you see, and the main thing is, it is far better to only say what you can be certain is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you have to deliver good news later, no one's going to mind that.
Yeah.
So it is far preferable to say, actually, this is the state that we're quite happy that it's in, or we're satisfied with the state that it is in now. And if there is an easy improvement later on, then we'll improve it.
Yeah, absolutely nothing to add. But at least a little bit, some improvements have been done since the original release. So we tweaked the overall sound volumes of the engine, and some of the occlusion things as well. So you'll hear the engine a little bit louder and more clearly.
We've seen a few people saying actually that the sound has improved since some of those original previews were done. So we do take feedback on board, and obviously Rivet take feedback on board as well. And where there are problems that can be dealt with, then that's that's something that will be dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're still taking your feedback. I'm more than happy to receive it. Yeah.
And someone else was saying that the sound of braking, the brake pads, have a relatively distinctive sound against the rail when braking, and that's not quite there either. Is that an authentic sound that you've used there, or is it one that you're trying to get as close as you can, but you can't accurately represent it?
Oh, you're asking not an audio engineer, so I'm afraid I have to pass on that one. I believe we've licensed sounds from HP, and I believe that we would have used what's there. But I've seen comments on that one as well. We've, as a company, seen comments on that one. So, yeah.
Well, we know already that Train Sim World as a whole has got a mission on to improve the way that sound is done, and that's a challenge that's got to be done. So there's an overall task on that front.
I mean, sounds are way more complex than what they used to be in Train Simulator. I'm sure Mel will agree on this one. So yeah, I mean, it's no excuse, but doesn't make things easier, and a comparison between Train Simulator and Train Sim World is a bit harder.
Yeah, it's tough to do.
I was going to write a reply on this one. We've had several people asking whether a 150/1 is likely in the future, and I'm going to have to throw you if it's not on the roadmap, it is not something that is currently in development, because each train delivered, even though it's only a variant or a slightly different model, that is treated as an entirely separate entity. So if you don't see it on the roadmap, then it's not something that is actively being worked on.
Yep.
Yeah, there's always a lot more to it than it looks like.
Yeah, and I mean, it has quite a lot of changes, at least from the exterior to the /2. So, yeah.
And I think actually just to make, just to kind of put a bow on the top of the question of sound, unless something glaring comes up later on. It's a big topic, and it is the biggest topic of I guess concern that the players have over the past year is that the sound in balance with the way that the trains and the routes are represented graphically, the sound is like it's a poor second cousin at the moment, which is why it always comes up, because if the graphics were of a similar level of reality to the sound, then these routes wouldn't look anything like as good as they do if you were to put them on an equal level of sort of a level footing for realism. And therefore, we need to work on bringing that balance back in line. So we get the sound feedback. All of the sound feedback is received, and we don't disagree. And that's why extra effort is being put in now. But let's move on from that topic, because there really isn't much more we can cover on that front. And where are we now? Sorry, I wasn't
just driving into
Truro.
Truro.
Yeah. That's one of the two viaducts close to Truro, which are very famous. So, yeah, first one with Truro Cathedral, and then there's like a second one right before the station.
So when it comes to putting this route together particularly, how much in-position surveying did you get to do for the route, and how much of it is drawn from satellite photos and reference photos that exist elsewhere?
It's a mix, obviously, because this route is set back into the early 90s, and like we've visited the area. One of our team visited the area and took like 1 million photos. and obviously, photograph the train as well. So we have proper reference for that one. But then, like I'd say, more than a good half are reference from old photographs and reference material we can get from the from Google Earth.
Right.
You can actually go back in time there, which was a massive help, even though we couldn't get quite to 1990, but it was a massive help to get an idea of what tracks were there and what it could look like. So it's a combination, but more from satellite images and old photos than an actual survey, just because in this area changed a lot since then.
And was this easier to do, or more difficult, or just different to the two routes that you've completed before now?
I would say more different, but more difficult as well. Just because, just imagine you're down there and you're so when looking at old reference photos, obviously there wasn't someone there with the intention in mind that this is going to be rebuilt in the train simulation program. So you take photos different than we would, for example, because we know what parts we need to cover to make recreating a route like this easy. So this is, you're looking at a lot of areas and trying to figure out what it was that's interesting for the train simulation aspect of it, and the infrastructure stuff, and this kind of stuff. So that's what it makes it complicated, and you obviously can't see them in full detail as you would need on satellite images. So that's one of the challenges, absolutely.
Okay, all right. A couple of people have pointed this out, and I spotted it when we first started. Why does this 8-passenger route have go-vias as part of the route?
So I explained that earlier on. The go-vias.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't listening.
The go-vias have been added because of the fairly unique nature in this particular part of the country for the way the signalling is done, and then because of single-track sections as well. There are a number of pinch points that affect traffic flow. Now, in the original version of this timetable, it didn't come up because every single station hadn't got any dispatch beyonds, which meant every station was red lights. So you always came to a red light, and when you closed the doors, the lights went green, and away you went. Now, everybody hates that, quite right. That's not how trains work. Turning on all the dispatch beyonds completely broke the route because there are so few signals in some sections that the train would. So one example, a train at, I think it's Hale, if I remember the name correctly, by default would have its path booked all the way into the platform in Penzance, which means that no trains can leave Penzance for 20 minutes. And that there's 2 or 3 points on the route where that happens. So go-vias are added to hold the dispatcher back so that it doesn't go any further than that point. So you keep it away from the pinch point, and that way it only gets the path through into the restricted section when it's actually ready to do it, when it's within sort of 1,000 yards or so of getting there. Then the dispatcher will let it through, and that just makes everything flow more nicely, and means that for the vast majority of the time you're going to see green lights at stations and everything else working fine.
So would you say that was a dispatcher limitation then?
Yes, it is a limitation of the dispatcher, in that human dispatchers can be cleverer in terms of how they would put things across. So this is an automatic dispatcher that's got. It does need a few more smarts to deal with that. We have to do this go via pinch point handling on a number of routes, and it's a technique we've found which enables us to manage priorities a bit better, and it's not ideal. But if the other thing I've seen mentioned is, why don't you hide it? Well, then you get no objective at all until you've passed it, which is even
and
more
again,
confusing.
that's down to the limitation. The other suggestion I saw was, could we at least get a a time estimate on there so that we can see if we're on schedule or behind schedule?
Yes, we could do that. Actually, I think we could do that. I can certainly look into whether or not we can start doing that. I'm not going to make any promises from this route's perspective, but going forwards, it's a technique we can certainly look at. It's a good shout, actually. Because otherwise you haven't got other than pressing the T key. You know, I can see now that I'm due into Penzance at 9:08, so that would be my next waypoint. But it's the top left corner's there to tell you what your time is. So yeah, we'll have a look at that.
I mean, typically it's only ever used on freight routes, so that's the only time that I've really seen go vias previously is when you're operating freight. And then you're not working to time so strictly anyway.
No, you're not. No, but we are using it more and more now on routes where we're starting to put more and more traffic on routes. We're having to use the go vias more and more to ensure that you don't get the entire route blocked up because something 10 miles away has grabbed a signal that it shouldn't have. It's got no business grabbing. So I think every one of the rush hour routes uses this, for example. Would this be a core feature with the time? No, it's more a case of the way we set it up. So the go via exists as an instruction, and so what we would do there is, so the short-term solution is we would type in the time or get the auto-calculated time and put it on the instruction. Ideally, we'd have a smarter hide instruction so that we could just hide the go vias like these, and then you would just see the next instruction. But the way the game works at the moment, if you hide the next instruction, you just get nothing until the next instruction, until you're on an instruction which is not hidden, which would mean variably you'd get to have no objective visible whatsoever. We thought that was a step backwards.
Yeah. I think it's not that bad to actually see what you're supposed to do. At least helps me a lot to have an idea of what I'm about to do. And I think this is true for many players.
Not having the time in the top left corner is a deficiency, and we'll have a look at what we can do going forwards for those. The go vias are in there to help keep things moving, because honestly this timetable doesn't work at all without these go vias in there.
Yeah.
And the option then is to do less trains, which nobody wants, or to I don't want it.
No.
Or or to put these go vias in to sort of ease the flow of traffic around. I mean, there's a more in-depth solution I'd like to actually make signals a bit smarter and make the dispatcher a bit smarter, but you start getting into magic science territory that needs clever people spending lots of time rewriting dispatcher components. So we have to work with what we've got to get something done now.
Yeah. I actually think it's not that bad. I mean, having a time would be really cool. That's true.
The time would be very useful. So.
Yeah.
If you're running a timetable service, the time is fairly essential.
Yeah,
but you can look at your schedule. See?
Who can be bothered with buttons? That's what I got UI for. There we go. Scott says, so is it possible to have a live ETA at all? Not at the moment, but that's just what we've been discussing, Scott, is that's something that needs to be investigated further.
Well, live ETA is something
it's not
slightly
particular
different.
to this route.
Live ETA is a bit different, and at the moment you'll notice we only calculate distances as the crow flies. So I guess part of that would be to, once we fix the distances being calculated via the track instead of as the crow flies, then we're closer to being able to do a live ETA. But even on previous games where I've seen live ETA, where they've had live ETAs, they've been a bit hit or miss. So there would need to be a smarter algorithm. So they're quite tricky. And if we're going to add it in, I'd like it to be right and useful.
So can we have a quick nose on an external camera? I want to see if there's some smoke coming from the exhaust or not.
It doesn't seem to be anymore.
No, you're running some kind of smokeless fuel at the moment.
Certainly doesn't seem to be there at the moment.
Jasper, could we get that onto the list of things to be investigated, please?
Yeah,
it seems to
absolutely,
disappear.
absolutely. Yeah. Can you do me a favor and go to the outside again and like go down to notch 0 and then rev it up again?
I'm waiting for it to rev down.
Yeah.
There you go. There was a puff of smoke there. I saw it with my eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do an external view once we leave the next stop, and then we'll see where the kind of cutout point is.
Yeah.
Because if I understand it correctly, that's another thing that Simulgraph deals with, is when smoke is and is not triggered.
Yeah, we have the exhausts are tracked in Simulgraph, and the particle effects are linked to them. Yeah, we need to find out what's going on there.
No, but add that to our list.
Limit coming up.
So you said there weren't actually very many signals on this this line overall. How many services should someone expect to see if running? Because we're running a long stretch of countryside track here, and we've still got another 10+ minutes to go. Should we anticipate seeing some traffic coming the opposite direction?
I'm not sure. It depends on the time of day. Probably maybe one or two.
About rush hour?
I'm not sure there is a rush hour on this route, if I'm honest.
No. Not really.
It's surprisingly low traffic. So there is a 47 looking like it's ready to depart, and we've got a 150 sat in there, so they may come out. So, and I don't know whether there's anything else running on the route at the moment. It's actually surprising how quiet this line is. When we were looking, I was looking at the timetables about, adding more stuff, and it was, and then when I started simulating the timetable, it looks like there's nothing else running. When I started simulating the timetable, I kind of found out why, because you very quickly run into, I've got trains, there's one that's, so just as an example, coming from, I think it's here, this signal here is the last one until up here somewhere. So you get these massive long sections where you can only have one train.
I mean, several people in the chat are saying that, in the time when this was set, you'd really only get about one train an hour anyway.
Yeah. That's exactly what you can see if you have a look at the timetable for the Class 150. Just because we've used an original timetable from back then as a starting point. And yeah, they were just a very few trains running up and down there.
So people saying that the Simulgraph may be I mean, obviously Simulgraph is always a work in progress, but also it takes time to become familiar with it. How have Rivet changed? How have you changed your working practices? Because obviously you've got a little bit more experience now, making routes for Train Sim World, making trains for Train Sim World. How has your learning curve been with the tool set provided?
I mean, obviously it updates and it gets better with every route that we produce, and we learn a couple of new things on, for example, techniques that we use on 3D models to improve the look of them while keeping performance or reducing the performance impact, stuff like that. For the more technical questions, I mean, we're obviously trying to get better with each route, which I think worked quite well on this one. But for anything more in-depth technical, that would be a question for someone who actually, does work with Simulgraph and stuff. I mean, I'm just a community manager,
I know.
the simple people at the
Okay,
end.
well, from your perspective, are you seeing an evolution in the way the routes are turning out?
I would say definitely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Isle of Wight was our first step into the big scary world of creating routes for trains in the world. And whilst I think it turned out quite nicely, obviously there were some things that we could improve on, which we then did with the Roser, and now West Cornwall is just the next step. Yeah, I think we actually improved quite a lot on train physics and sound stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a step forward with each route that we're producing.
I mean, obviously, dovetail routes, there are new tricks learned with each new route developed, but there is a learning curve to kind of figure out how to get the best out of the tools and out of the engine that you've got in front of you.
Yeah. But on the other hand, we've got great help from Dovetail on new features on the Simulgraph, for example. So there's always like a good communication between both of us, going back and forth. If we have like a question and stuff that we don't know how to solve. So that's been really good. Yeah. But I think it's in the nature of developing stuff that you get better with each route. I mean, it would be bad if you don't get better. So, yeah, that's obviously something we want to do with each product, not just route, but train as well. Actually, I think the 1938 stock is quite a good example for this, because it's more or less a reworked 483 train from the Isle of Wight, but I think it turned out a lot better than the Class 483.
Yeah, no, because you stand on the learnings that you've picked up previously.
Yeah. Not to say that the Class 483 was a bad train, but yeah, just things involved, and we learned new techniques and stuff.
Well, you're allowed to if you want to. I mean, you can. It's part of your company's product, so you can diss it if you want to.
I definitely don't want to.
While we're on a relatively quiet bit here, Matt, can we have a more in-depth look at the map?
Yep. So, over here on the right, we have the eastern extremity, which is St Austell. The 150s will come in here, park up in the siding, and then come back out the other way again for the return journey. The sidings here, I think these are featured in one of the scenarios. This is where the China Claim, if I remember rightly, is up in this direction.
That's right.
Then you've got Truro here. Truro has all manual points, so actually in the layered version of the timetable, you will find a 37 and some wagons, and you can free roam shunt to your heart's content in there.
Are there T-wagons in there? We've got a T-wagon question that has been floating around.
No, TEAs haven't been used, and kind of kicking myself because they could have been a fuel train delivering fuel to Longsight, but no, they're not used. So this is St Erth down here, which is where you find the branch over to St Ives, the coastline. We're going to run that line in a minute, and then following the line down from St Erth, you end up, is this Longsight, is it? And then you've got Honsenden Yard here, which no longer exists, if I remember rightly.
It's Long Rock, though. But
Long Rock, that's the word. It's long something. I was close. And then as you come in, now the interesting thing here, this is a major pinch point because it's all single track coming in here. So starting here, it's all single track until it gets to about there, and then it opens out. So this is a massive pinch point for trains coming in and out of this area, even though you've got the 4 lines here. Let me just see what this train is doing. Nothing too bad. It's fine. So yes, and then when you come down here, you've got the Penzance. You've got the in the Alley, you've got the 08, which is the station pilot. And what happens there is when the 47 trains come in, it's just one mail train a day, and there's half a dozen of the passenger trains. They'll come in with the loco nose in. The pilot will then come out, take the coaches back up to here, and wait. The locomotive will then come back up and hold alongside it while the coaches get pushed in, and then the loco comes in on the correct side. And you can drive the loco, you can drive the pilot and do the shunting. you can kind of, it's the usual, or you can just sit and watch it. It's quite fun to watch, to be honest. Yeah, there's lots to do there.
It's quite nice to actually do the shunting as well. I've just gave it a try yesterday and thought it was really nice. It's good fun.
I love the OA. It is possibly one of the greatest trains in the world.
It's just cute, and if you have like these long mail trains sitting at the back of the local, and you have to use like actually a little bit of power. It's just cool. Yeah.
Going back down on nearly 2% gradient now. Oh no, 1.6. Good, it's another example. You see there's no next signal in the display. That means it's more than 2 kilometres away or 2 miles away. So it just shows you just how few signals there are on these routes, because the density of trains on this line is just not high.
No. Just because someone asked in the chat, no, there's the Falmouth Branch, isn't it?
Yes, the Falmouth Branch would be at Truro.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is AI trains that use the Falmouth Branch, so that you can see trains going up and down here. It's what sits in this bay here. So there was a 101 in here when we went through. That was a Falmouth train, and that just runs up and down. So you'll see that running up and down as an AI, but it's not drivable.
No.
Five and a half miles to Penzance.
So we're nearly there, yeah.
Why this route? So why did you, of all the routes you could have chosen to make, why this one?
The short answer would be because Tim says so. That's like Tim's our CEO. A little bit longer answer is because I mean obviously we started working on this due in COVID, in the time of COVID restrictions, and we had to take something that we could easily get to without too much of a hassle, and not like quarantine yourself, or even that there was like a long period of time where we weren't able to travel at all, so that was one of the influencing points, and obviously we wanted to, well, not obviously, but we wanted to make something from Cornwall for a long time, because it's so well known as like the British Riviera, just a beautiful area, and Penzance is something really special with the tracks and the terminal station being so close to the water. Then with the St. Ives branch, just something very unique that we wanted to have, and we thought it would, felt very nicely together with the Class 150. That's a train that we wanted to make for quite a long time. So
it was an excuse to make a 150, I guess.
Probably, yeah. No, but the route is super beautiful in real life. So if you haven't been there, I somehow have to include myself into these people as well. Unfortunately, you should definitely go there and visit it in real life. Yeah. I mean, ask James; he can highly recommend it. Yeah.
3.5 miles to go to our waypoint. That waypoint will be the pinch point into Penzance.
So for those who haven't actually taken it for a spin yet, what would you compare the 150 to in terms of handling characteristics, man? Is it similar to anything?
I mean, kind of similar to a 166. It's a diesel hydraulic, the same as a 166 is a diesel hydraulic, but they're not that similar. I'm not sure actually what else. I think that's probably the closest, but they're not alike for like, just similar. this has got separate controls. So the cab and the driving experience is probably similar to something like the 313 or the 314, but the physics and the driving, the sound and so forth is probably more like a 166, something like that. There is no exact mimic for it.
No, it's something because I'm not a train aficionado. It means that every time I get behind the controls of something, I try and think, okay, what's this handling like compared to something that I've played before, and that gives me an entry point, because I find some styles of trains more entertaining than others because of the way they perform. I mean, they're all entertaining in their own right. But comparing a 377 comparing a 377 or a Talent 2 with something like a Class 31 or a 101 or a Baby Bullet, even, those handling characteristics are very, very different and create for quite a unique driving experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, one of the key things that's on this type is that it's a dual control, so accelerate, the throttle and the brake are on two different controls, whereas some people prefer the single combined throttle, so like something like a 166. That's another factor into which type of control is it. There's no gears like a 101. It's quite straightforward to drive, to be honest. I quite like the split controls. It makes a change from the combined handle.
Is there a service that stops at all stations? We seem to be rattling through a few.
Yeah, this is an express one. So there are some that stop at. I think the 150s do stop at all stations on some of the services, don't they? I think I'm doing one. Yeah, I'm doing a Class 1 service. So you want to do a Class 2 service to stop everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Just because it was in the chat again, yes, you can use the Northern Transpennine and the heavy freight pack rolling stock on this route, but not vice versa, if I'm correct.
Say that one more time, sorry, what?
You can use Northern Transpennine and the heavy freight pack rolling stock on Penzance, but not the Class 150 on Northern Transpennine.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. I think we'll see some rolling stock from both of those packs in Penzance when we're arriving there.
Yes, we will.
Well, I think it's safe to say that you're not going to arrive on time.
I never do.
Oh, you have failed us all. Lee, we do have employees who speak German, just on the basis of them being German, but we don't have any German streamers, not at the moment, not on the team. Riveter part based in Germany, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
Is that right,
Yeah.
Jasper?
I'm from Germany. Actually.
I had it in my head that you were Swedish.
Yeah. It's Swedish.
Well, I do beg your pardon.
No, that'd
I
be
had no
interesting.
idea you were ein Deutscher.
Yeah. Ich bin eine deutsche Kartoffel. Like I'm a German potato.
I know Kartoffeln.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Kartoffeln sell out. You've got to know how to order one of those.
Oh, well. So you've been to the Oktoberfest once, and that's like the words you needed there.
No, I have been to Germany numerous times.
Oh, well, cool. Is there like a favorite thing you have in Germany, or like a favorite city, something like that?
I really enjoyed going to Leipzig back when Gamescom was in Leipzig, because it felt like the biggest thing to happen in the town at any point.
That's probably true.
But Cologne's amazing. Or Köln is amazing, and obviously Kolsch, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, that
In
that is
those
something
in those
we
little
could.
in those little shot glasses.
Yeah,
I've been to Bavaria a few times, so Munich's nice. Ulm is fantastic. The cathedral in Ulm is amazing.
yeah.
Why are we talking about Germany? I brought it up. There was a question. There you go. There was a question. I brought it up, and now we're talking about Germany.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
no, I've
So if
been
there's
to,
like
been
any.
to Germany 20, 30 times, something like that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's quite a lot. Yeah.
Cologne Cathedral is indeed the Dom in Cologne is amazing.
Yeah. Were you up at the top?
No, no, you
Ah,
won't
you
get
have
me
to
up
do
the top
that.
of those. No, not even slightly. I'm not scared of heights. I just have a problem with them.
Actually,
A
I'm
respect
scared of
for
heights.
them.
That's an entirely different topic. I went up the cathedral in Ulm,
Yeah.
and that's pretty tall.
Okay. I believe
Bremen's great.
Cologne is-
Yes, I've been to Bremen, and it is indeed great. I like Germany. I think Germany's great.
That's like something very British, isn't it? All British people somehow like Germany, or most of them do. And
Very similar countries and a very similar sense of humour.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's an interesting reason. I've never heard that before, but I would agree on that on the humor side of things.
Hold
Absolutely.
on, Mick,
Yeah.
Mick's saying, can we get back on topic? Sorry, Mick. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
That's totally fair. I apologise for dragging us off topic. We're coming into Penzance.
What we
Matt,
need is a
please
moderator.
take us back on topic.
So I'm driving a train, yeah? Yeah, we're just coming into Penzance, coming into platform 2.
Yeah.
Slowed down way too much for the 15.
True. Very true.
Always do.
Better safe than
I've
sorry,
got two
right?
ways of driving. I either go, what speed limit? Or, oh, there's a speed limit in 30 miles, I should slow down.
Oh yeah, can remember that same thought on a heavy freight train. Yeah.
Oh, looks
Didn't
like
work
we
that
are
well.
going over onto the right. And there is a train sitting there at the moment.
Good suggestion in the chat. Turn off the HOD, the HUD, and forget the speed limit.
Oh, he's off as well. He was waiting for me. I've been slowing him down.
A lot of people are angry now.
Yeah, it's fine. No more angry than the people on my trains.
No, in 1990, you'd have been grateful it got moving. When were the 101s taken out of service? There you go. This is a good trivia question. Someone in the chat will probably know, or at least can find their way to Wikipedia to find out. Go on, Matt. What's your best guess? Someone will go and look it up.
Surprisingly recent, I would have thought. Because what happened on this particular area is I think they were brought back in the early 90s until the 150s took over from them because of the trains before them went elsewhere or weren't any good or something. Someone was explaining it to me that, yeah, there was a window where the 101s came back and then left again.
Mm.
The majority of people here are saying 2003. On 23rd of December 2003. That's a Wikipedia answer, that one.
Yeah, that is totally.
That's a lot later than I expected them
Yeah,
to.
as I say, the 101s are one of those trains that are they just kept on kicking.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. That's solid speed limit adherence example there.
Yeah, you almost nearly followed the speed limit.
Almost, nearly, occasionally, every now and again, I went under it. And somehow was still late. Never mind. Right, let's do... so people have been asking about Northern Transpennine. Let's do a bit of 101 from St Earth to St Ives. Put it in the summer. Let's enjoy the coastal beauty of this branch line.
That sounds like a very good idea, yeah.
And we will do St. Earth to St. Ives. So the 101 can do everything the 150 can do. And there is something like a 10% chance of a 101 subbing into a 150 as AI. So you'll see predominantly 150s, and the occasional 101 is essentially the idea that was for that. But you can put it anywhere you like. Right. Let's flick this control circuit key on and unlock the doors. Headlight on, headlight on. Can't set the destination because it's not that train.
That's something I wanted to ask you. There's no option to open all doors with the button and the cap, just because that's not how it worked back then.
No, there was a guard that operated, that managed. In fact, it was the passengers would just open the doors and throw themselves out before the train had even stopped half the time. It was a different time. It was a different time.
Yeah.
Destination light on. And then it was the guard's job to shut any straggling doors and buzz the driver when, alright, this rabble are finished, you can go.
Yeah.
Let's get the destination light on and let's lock the doors. I do like this train.
Yeah, it's so cool to drive. Yeah.
If I remember to release the brakes first, that'd be handy.
Sounds fun without health and safety. Yeah.
Oh, the older British railways would scare the heck out of any safety advisor these days.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just throw the phrase "slip coaches" in there, and anyone who knows what a slip coach is knows just how much fear that would strike into the heart of a health and safety advisor these days. Do you know what a slip coach is?
No, I was about to ask.
Slip coaches, basically, imagine you're barrelling along at 70 miles an hour with your steam train and 14 coaches behind you, and the guard gets into the rear coach, unhooks it while you're driving, uncouples it, applies a little bit of brake to separate it from the main train, and then the main train goes blasting through the next station, and the guard meanwhile then uses the parking brake to slow the train down and coast it to a nice perfect stop in the platform.
Multiplayer, must have, need it. I want it. That's it. You've found the thing that I want.
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Slip coaches are it's. Oh hello, press the wrong key for gears. That's TS1 key for gears. Don't do that.
One of the collectibles, swerving back onto topic ever so slightly. What are the collectibles on this route there, Jasper?
We have, I guess, four different. We have like these cool trolleys that are standing around where you can place your luggage on. Actually, nice detail because you can see like a little rivet embossed on the what they're called on the suitcases. Then you have posters you can get there. You have the obvious route map, and we have the ice cream stands. And yeah, that's the four. We'll probably see all of them in St. Ives if you want to have a look.
It's still used at marshalling yards. Well, that's what hump yards do as well, isn't it? Effectively, they just chuck the wagons over the top of a big hump, and someone frantically then presses buttons in a control box to make the wagons go in the right place. There's more to it than that, and it's in reality is did I turn the control circuit off? Thank you. Sitting here wondering why it wouldn't take on. Coast in fourth gear. Yeah, well, we were coasting with the control circuit switched off, so usual quality driving here. Not gonna lie, it has been a little while since I've driven this lovely, lovely train. I have to stop myself driving it all the time, otherwise I wouldn't do anything else.
Do you don't get paid for driving trains?
Yeah, but I have to drive different trains.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, isn't
My
that
bad.
gorgeous? I love the 101.
Just because the question came up earlier and I missed the opportunity to ask it. What are there a variety of different consists of the 150? So different coach numbers.
No. Different coach numbers. Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking about if we have like multiple units coupled together. But
that's what I meant. I just worded
okay,
it really
sorry.
badly.
Lengths of train.
Sorry. Yeah. No, there's only the 2-car unit. There are a 2, 3, and 4. Not car, but unit version. You can drive in scenario planner. But you'll only see them as a single unit in
Right. Okay.
on Fansets. Yeah.
Which DLC do you need in order to access the 101? That'll be Northern Transpennine, presumably.
If you've just got Northern Transpennine, the 101 will appear as a substitution on the 150 services. Oh, one day I'll press the right key. And if you have the heavy freight pack as well, then you'll get the extra layer, which gives you the passenger services.
And the mail train service.
And the mail train service, yes. Just as passenger train with BGs instead of normal Mark 1s. But it looks suitably different.
True.
Normally those trains will be run by 47s. They're set up to run with 47s. But they offer a small percentage chance of subbing into anything equivalent, which may or may not necessarily be appropriate for the route. So, for example, the 40s never really ran down here, but if you want to sub in a 40 and use a 40, you have at it.
Yep. Presumably, this 101 that we're driving, the destination board can't be set correctly because it doesn't include this part of the country.
No, unlike the modern trains, which have got digital LED boards, where they can be dynamically updated. This is roller blind, so it's got a texture sheet for the route it comes from, so they can't be dynamically updated. I'd like to have a better solution to that in future, but that's where we're at right now. We're at the seaside.
Yes, because presumably you'd have to remake the entire train, even if it was just being added because of you owning it on a different route.
Or we'd have to update the old train to add in additional destinations, but because of the way the roller blind works, that isn't actually always that's not as easy as it sounds, because you need to make the texture bigger, and there's a limit to how big a texture can be before it gets silly. The better solution is to try and find some way to digitally fake the roller blind, essentially, so that it still looks like a roller blind, but actually we're dynamically creating it. That's kind of where I'd want to go with it, but that's
the video game, Matt. It's all digital fakery of some description or another.
Exactly.
Several people have said that the water effect that you've got going on here is a big improvement over what we've seen before.
It's good.
And they're all going, could we have it on Isle of Wight, please? How likely is that to happen? Because obviously you could add it to Isle of Wight. It's just a question of whether you feel there's a benefit in doing so.
I don't have an answer to that one. Simply, because I'm not the person to decide. I don't know. We had a discussion about this earlier, and we definitely would love to. But this is by no means a promise. So, yeah. That's the unfortunate.
No, it's that. I mean, that would fall under being a preservation crew job. And Rivet at the moment, you don't have the equivalent of a preservation team. You work on what's in front of you, and then you make sure that you tidy up after you release something. But then you have to say, actually, we're done with that.
And I mean that doesn't mean that we're not fixing stuff. Just to point that out again. I know that's not what you said. But it's like, for a small team as we are, it's hard to have a dedicated group of people working on old routes and products and improve them and update them to what's ever the standard of the time.
Well, I mean, unless you decide as a company to have a dedicated resource to look backwards in the same way that we do, and that's that's very much a luxury item, frankly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you do have to at some point say, okay, we're done with that one. I'm sorry, but that is now what it is. I mean, it's the same. People like to compare video games with car manufacturing. And it's the equivalent of your 2005 VW Golf continuing to have new engines put into it.
Yeah, that's probably a good, good way of putting it.
Gareth has summarised it, but far better than I did. It's fixing versus enhancing.
Yeah. Actually, there's quite a cool mod for the Isle of Wight, which adds in a hovercraft. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So if you want to have a look in that one, I mean, it's not officially supported by any means, of course,
and it's just only on PC.
And it's only on PC. True. Yeah. That's a good thing to point out. Yeah. No, but a good point on the water being improved, as we not only improved the water, but we also added this like foam line that we could see. You can see it down there on the rocks, and it gets dynamically calculated on, where it needs to be, and then we'll, just behave the way it would naturally on the rocks, which are also new and especially made for this route. And if you fancy, you can watch a video about these two things on the Rivet Games YouTube channel, where we explain a little bit more in depth what we've done there.
That's a good place to get all of the cool stuff from Rivet.
Yeah. We have these like short, under 5-minute videos where we like explain things on one topic. And like, for example, the water and the animated water and the cliffs are one thing, or we have one on the 3 main stations where we show off the route, the building process behind these. So stuff like this, I think it's pretty cool. You can get a good idea of what we've done to a route to make it special.
Oh, good angle choice there, Matt.
Matt, before we finish this run, would you mind walking down the station and showing off the different collectibles?
Yep.
Perfect.
Everyone fall asleep now, yeah?
It's gone well.
We're only 20 seconds behind, so it's gone better.
Yeah.
Should we take out that buffer stop at slow speed? Right.
Okay.
Oh, we can do a return to free roam
around the station. I was going to say, no, there we go. Apparently, there is a monument here somewhere that isn't here somewhere.
A monument?
Placing some bags.
Yeah,
and that classic Rivet branding.
What else have we got?
Do you remember it from back then?
Totally authentic.
Got a map.
Yeah, so it's a route map, exactly.
Poster.
Yep.
We got.
And the ice cream.
Ice creams. Notice there's ice cream collected. Now, I found something when I was wandering around here. I'm going to jump on the track. I'm in charge of the trains, that's fine. And down here, there's another ice cream thing down here. Now, I'm going to save everybody the pain that I felt. That is not a collectible.
No, unfortunately not. Yeah.
Oh dear.
I spent so long trying to work out how to get down.
I think we initially thought about placing some stuff down there. I know that there's like a poster thing down there as well. But I don't think you can get to it without using some unfair tricks in the console.
Was that CRT PIS operational?
No. So all the PISs are non-operational. I know something that Adam is looking at the moment is because it's not. We've only ever done LED type and LCD type of displays, whereas this is an old school. It looks a bit like the old. I don't know if anyone here is old enough to remember the likes of CFAX, and it's that style of old school display. And we've not done one of those before, so we're looking at that. And then once we've got a something that looks appropriate, then we can talk Rivet through how to do it. But
that can be plugged in.
Yeah. They were active PISs, but they were dot matrix, which looks silly, so they were taken out. So that's why that is where it is.
No.
Cars. I don't know if anyone has ever noticed on these cars, by the way. Look at the registration plates. I'm just going to leave that there.
I can't make it out because I'm watching this via Teams.
Yeah, me neither.
CFAX and Oracle, yes, Terry. Yeah, they were the best, weren't they?
Very nice.
Very good.
Very nice. Very good.
So anyway, that's what we were going to be doing.
Yep.
So I think
Okay.
that's it then.
Good stuff.
Unless there's anything else either of you want to look at before we finish. No?
I'm relatively cheerful. I think there might be one or two questions, possibly. No, that's about it. If you've got a question regarding Train Sim World generally, when we do streams that are focused on a single route, we try and keep the questions that we answer to just a single route. If you've got a general question, then the roadmap stream's a good place to ask it, and with the infrequent but always informative Q&A streams are equally useful. But we try and stick to one route at a time when we're doing a route preview. There you go. That's it. That's going to wrap it up for this evening. Thank you, Jasper. Where can people find these behind-the-scenes videos?
Just go to YouTube and search for Rivet Games, and we have our own YouTube channel where you can find all this stuff. Like, there's a dedicated playlist for it, so you'll find it, I'm sure.
A high level of confidence there. Not even telling people to follow him on Twitter. Amazing. Thank you, Matt. And we'll be back next week. I don't actually know what's on next week. Do you know what's on next week?
No.
No. All right. Well, we'll be back with some mystery streams next week.
Train stuff.
But I'm relatively certain we'll be involving various train simulation type behaviour. Thanks very much for watching today, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.